They called an emergency conference about you at 2 a.m. Not a consultation, not a follow-up. An emergency conference where two senior physicians stood on opposite sides of a room and screamed at each other about whether you were dying or becoming something they don't have words for yet. Dr. Sarah Chen, oncologist, 23 years of experience, hands shaking as she held your labs. This patient has maybe 6 months. Look at these markers. Look at this cellular degradation. I've seen this pattern 1,000 times. This is systematic failure. Dr. Marcus Webb, evolutionary biologist, who got pulled into this mess because someone thought they needed a specialist in mutation. Are you insane? This isn't failure. This is adaptation. I've never seen cells behave like this. They're not dying. They're rebuilding themselves into something else. And there you were, sitting in a waiting room, wondering why your routine physical had turned into whatever the hell this was. Let me tell you what they found. Let me walk you through the exact moment 3 medical professionals looked at your test results and had to choose between their careers and their sanity. Because what's in your blood isn't supposed to exist. Not in a living human. Not in anything that's supposed to survive past next Thursday. Dr. Chen's evidence came first. The death sentence. Your red blood cells are crystallizing, not deteriorating. Crystallizing. Like your blood is slowly turning into something solid, something geometric, something that should kill you within weeks. She's seen this exactly once before in a patient with a rare genetic disorder. That patient died in 17 days. You've been like this for at least 8 months. They found old labs. You've been walking around with blood that should have turned your circulatory system into broken glass. You've been going to work, drinking coffee, having conversations with blood that looks like it's trying to become mineral deposits. Your white blood cell count is in free fall. Not declining, free fall. The numbers are dropping so fast that between Tuesday and Thursday, you lost 30% of your immune system. At this rate, you shouldn't be able to fight off a common cold. You definitely shouldn't be sitting here without a fever, without infection, without your body eating itself alive. Your platelet levels are erratic. They spike and crash every 72 hours like clockwork. Tuesday, you have enough to survive. Friday, you should be hemorrhaging internally. Monday, you're back to normal. Your blood is cycling through death and survival on a schedule that makes no biological sense. Dr. Chen pulled up your scans, showed them to the board, showed them to Dr. Webb, demanded he explain how you're still breathing. Look at the organ degradation, she said, her voice breaking. Look at what's happening to the liver. The kidneys are processing toxins that shouldn't exist in a human body. The heart tissue is showing signs of stress that should have caused cardiac arrest 2 weeks ago. This patient is dying. I don't care what your theories are. I'm looking at someone in systemic failure. But then Dr. Webb pulled out his evidence. The evolution argument. Your DNA is rewriting itself, not mutating. That's too gentle a word. Rewriting. He found sequences in your genome that weren't there 6 months ago. Not errors, not cancer. Intentional, structured, organized new code appearing in your cells like someone's programming you from the inside. He compared your blood samples from January and October. They're almost different species. The cells look the same under a basic microscope, but at the molecular level, they're operating on completely different principles. Your January blood followed human biology. Your October blood is following something else. Your mitochondria, the powerhouses of your cells, the things that keep you alive, they're multiplying. not duplicating normally, multiplying exponentially. You have 3 times the mitochondrial density of a normal human. Your cells are generating energy at levels that should cook you from the inside out. You should be running a fever that would boil your brain. But your temperature is normal. Actually, it's better than normal. It's exactly 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, no matter what. They tested you at different times of day, different activity levels, different environmental conditions. You don't fluctuate. Your body temperature is locked at perfect homeostasis, like you're a machine, not a mammal. Dr. Webb showed them your metabolic panel. You're processing nutrients in ways that shouldn't be possible. You're extracting energy from food at 97% efficiency. Normal humans max out at 30%. You're converting matter to energy like you're running on physics that haven't been discovered yet. This isn't dying, he said, pointing at the screen. This is someone becoming something we don't have a classification for. Look at the telomeres. They're not just stable, they're lengthening. This patient's cells are aging backward, while simultaneously showing stress markers. It's contradictory, it's impossible, but it's happening. So they ran more tests, deeper tests, tests that required special clearance. They took a piece of your tissue, just a small biopsy. They put it under conditions that should kill human cells within hours. Extreme heat, extreme cold, radiation exposure, chemical stress. Dr. Chen's prediction: it'll necrotize immediately. This tissue is already on the edge of death. Dr. Webb's prediction: it'll adapt, it'll survive. It might even thrive. They were both right. Saw the louder. The tissue died. Completely. Cellular death. Across the entire sample within 40 minutes. Dr. Chen felt vindicated. Started writing up your prognosis. And then it came back. The dead cells started regenerating. Not healing. Regenerating from scratch, like something hit a reset button and rebuilt the entire tissue structure from cellular memory. Within 6 hours, the sample was alive again. Different, but alive. They tested it again. Same results. It died. It came back. Every time. It came back slightly different. Slightly more resistant. Slightly more adapted to whatever killed it. Dr. Webb was ecstatic. Do you see this? This is adaptive regeneration. This is evolution happening in real time. This is— Dr. Chen cut him off. This is a patient who's dying and resurrecting on a loop. This is someone stuck between states. This isn't evolution, it's torture. They brought in Dr. Yuki Tanaka, neurologist. The third opinion. She looked at your brain scans and went silent for 11 minutes. Your neural pathways are reorganizing. Constantly, they did an MRI on Monday, another on Wednesday. The pathways had completely rerouted. Connections that existed on Monday were gone by Wednesday. New connections that shouldn't exist appeared overnight. Your brain is pruning and rebuilding itself, like it's experimenting, like it's trying different configurations to find something optimal. Most people's brains stay relatively stable after age 25. Yours is acting like it's still developing, but not like a child's brain, like something that's never existed before. The prefrontal cortex, the part that handles decision-making, personality, social behavior, it's showing activity patterns they've never documented. You're using sections of your brain that in most humans stay dormant for life. You're lighting up areas associated with functions they don't have names for. Dr. Tanaka pulled them aside. I need to know right now, is this patient experiencing neurological death or neurological transcendence? Because the data supports both. Parts of this brain are shutting down. Other parts are waking up. I've never seen simultaneous degeneration and expansion. Then came the genetic analysis, the one that made everyone stop talking. You have genes that don't exist in the human database, not mutations of human genes, completely novel sequences. They ran it through every genetic database available. No matches, not in humans, not in primates, not in any known organism. Either you're carrying DNA from something extinct, or you're carrying DNA from something that hasn't existed yet. Dr. Chen, oncogenic potential is through the roof. These unknown sequences could be driving cellular chaos, could be triggering the death cascade we're seeing, Dr. Webb. Or they're directing the evolution. These could be dormant genes activating, could be the next phase of human development expressing itself. They tested your telomeres again. The protective caps on your chromosomes that determine how many times your cells can divide before dying. Yours are doing something unprecedented. In some cells, they're expanding, which means those cells could theoretically live forever. In other cells, they're collapsing, which means those cells are racing toward death. You're simultaneously immortal and dying. Your body is running two contradictory programs at the same time, and somehow you're surviving both. They called in specialists from 5 different fields, brought them in quietly, didn't use your name, just showed them the data. The immunologist took one look and said, "This patient's immune system isn't fighting infection, it's fighting the patient. This is autoimmune destruction." The endocrinologist said, "This patient's hormones are regulating at levels I've never seen. This is optimization beyond normal human parameters." The hematologist said, "This blood is dying." The geneticist said, "This blood is evolving." Everyone was right. Everyone was terrified. Because here's what they realized in that conference room at 4 a.m. You're not dying or evolving. You're doing both, simultaneously. Your body is locked in a war with itself, where one side is trying to kill you, and the other side is trying to transcend you, and neither side is winning. You're trapped in a biological stalemate that's creating something unprecedented. The parts of you that are dying, they're making room. They're clearing out the old code. They're burning down the infrastructure that can't handle what's coming. The parts of you that are evolving, they're building the new code. They're creating systems that shouldn't exist. They're installing capabilities that no human has ever had. You're dying into something else. You're not transforming. Transformation implies a smooth transition. You're being torn apart and rebuilt simultaneously. You're stuck in the space between human and whatever comes next. And that space is apparently survivable, barely, but it looks like death to anyone who doesn't understand what they're seeing. Dr. Chen broke first. She submitted her resignation at 6 a.m., wrote in her letter, "I cannot continue treating a patient whose very existence violates everything I understand about medicine. I've spent 23 years learning how humans die. This patient is dying in ways I cannot comprehend and surviving in ways I cannot explain. I can no longer provide care when I don't understand what I'm caring for." She never spoke to you directly. Never told you that your blood made her question whether her medical degree meant anything. Never mentioned that she's been having nightmares where all her patients have your test results and she can't save any of them because the textbooks don't have answers for what you are. Dr. Webb left next, but for different reasons. He didn't quit medicine. He quit ethics. He wanted to study you, wanted to isolate you, wanted to run tests that would never get approved by any board because they'd require treating you like a specimen instead of a patient. He wrote in his exit notes, "This patient represents either the end of human evolution or the beginning of something that will replace us. I cannot maintain objectivity. I cannot provide unbiased care. Every time I see their results, I don't see a patient. I see the future, and I want to dissect it." He was asked to leave before he could request the invasive testing he was planning. Dr. Tanaka lasted the longest, 3 months. She kept monitoring your brain scans, watched your neural pathways reorganize every single week, watched you develop cognitive capabilities that shouldn't be possible, watched your brain activity start showing patterns that matched theoretical models of enhanced consciousness. She quit after your last scan because she saw something that made her realize she wasn't studying a medical patient anymore. She was studying an entity that was becoming aware of what it was. Your brain scans started showing intentionality. The reorganization wasn't random anymore. It was directed. Like something inside your head had woken up and started actively redesigning your neural architecture. She wrote one sentence in her resignation: "The patient is no longer unconscious of their transformation. They've been trying to find doctors willing to take your case. They can't." Word spread, quietly, carefully, through private channels where medical professionals share cases they can't solve. Everyone who reviews your file has the same reaction: fascination, then horror, then refusal. Because treating you isn't just difficult, it's philosophically impossible. How do you treat someone who's simultaneously dying and evolving? Do you try to stop the death? You might stop the evolution. Do you try to enhance the evolution? You might accelerate the death. You're a medical paradox that forces doctors to choose: preserve the human you're ceasing to be, or facilitate the unknown you're becoming. Most choose neither. Most choose to walk away before they have to make that decision. But here's what none of them told you. Here's what they found in your records that they buried in classified sections, marked as inconclusive, hidden behind medical jargon that means we don't know what the fuck we're looking at. This isn't new. Your childhood medical records show anomalies. Minor, easily dismissed, but there, always there. That time you had pneumonia at age 7 and recovered in 2 days. Flagged as unusual. That time you broke your arm at 12 and the bone healed in half the expected time. Noted as accelerated recovery, genetic predisposition. That time you had routine blood work at 16 and the lab called for a redraw because the results couldn't be right. Filed away and forgotten. You've been different your whole life. The difference was just quiet enough, subtle enough, normal enough that everyone missed it. Until now. Until whatever was dormant in you woke up and started running both programs at once. Death and evolution, destruction and creation, ending and beginning. They think they know what triggered it. Trauma. Specifically a level of stress and pain that should have killed you but didn't, about 2 years ago. Something happened. You know what it was. That event that should have broken you. That betrayal. That loss. That moment where you should have given up. Your body read that as a death signal. Started the shutdown sequence. Started preparing to let you go, but something else in you. Something deeper. Something older. Something that's been sleeping in your DNA since before you had language. That something said no. Said, if we're dying anyway, let's try something different. And it started rewriting the code. They think the trauma activated dormant genetic sequences. Think your body interpreted psychological death as permission to experiment with biological transcendence. You're not dying because you're sick. You're dying because you're becoming something that can't fit in a human body anymore. And your body is desperately trying to build a new vessel while the old one burns down. So what does this mean? It means you're the first, the test case, the prototype. It means every symptom you've ignored, the exhaustion that comes in waves, the moments where you feel like you're vibrating at a different frequency, the times you look in the mirror and don't recognize what's looking back, all of that is real. It means you're not crazy for feeling like you're two different beings fighting for control of one body. You are. It means the doctors were right to be terrified, because they just witnessed something that challenges every assumption about what human biology can do, what consciousness can survive, what evolution looks like when it happens in real time instead of across millennia. And here's the part that kept all three of them awake. You're stable. Somehow, impossibly, you're stable. You should be in crisis. You should be in the ICU. You should be on a dozen medications trying to keep your body from tearing itself apart. But you're fine. You're walking around. You're living your life. You're dying and evolving, and you're handling both with a level of resilience that suggests this is exactly what you were designed to do. Which means one of two things. Either you're an anomaly, a 1 in 8 billion fluke that will die out with you and never be seen again, or you're a preview. The first iteration of something that's going to start happening to more people. The beginning of a shift that nobody's ready for. They buried your file, marked it classified, restricted access. Not because they want to hide you, because they don't know how to categorize you. You're not sick enough to treat. You're not healthy enough to discharge. You're not human enough to understand and not alien enough to study. You're in between. And the in-between doesn't have a medical code, so they let you go. Told you your results were inconclusive. Told you to follow up in 6 months. Sent you home with instructions to monitor your symptoms and return if anything changes. What they didn't tell you, they have no idea what to monitor for. They have no idea what changes would even mean for someone like you. They just know they can't help you, because you don't need help. You need witnesses. You need documentation. You need someone to record what happens when a human being starts dying into their next form while still conscious, still walking, still alive. 3 doctors quit because they looked at your blood and saw the end of everything they understood. But maybe they should have seen it differently. Maybe they should have seen the beginning, because you're not dying and you're not evolving. You're both at the same time, forever. And somehow, you're making it look easy.
You ever notice how much energy you burn caring about people who wouldn't even flinch if you disappeared tomorrow? Yeah, I'm talking to you, sitting there staring at your phone, waiting on a message that's never coming, scrolling through memories like they're going to suddenly rewrite themselves and give you a different ending. You replay every conversation, every look, every little shift in their tone, like a detective trying to solve a crime. Newsflash, kid, the crime already happened, and you were the one left bleeding. You sit there asking yourself, what did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? How do I fix this? You don't even realize the joke's on you. Not because you're weak, but because you care in a world that rewards the ones who don't. They walked away like you were nothing, left you on read, ghosted your soul, laughed about you with people who don't even know your middle name. And you're still sitting in the ruins, trying to glue back pieces they smashed on purpose. You keep waiting for closure from people who get high off your confusion. You keep waiting for apologies from mouths that only know how to lie. Let me tell you something brutal and honest. They don't care. They never did. And that's not the part that breaks you. What breaks you is that you still do. You check their page. You stalk their shadow. You listen for whispers of your name in rooms you no longer walk in. You're not living your life. You're living in their aftermath. For what? Validation, a second chance, proof that you weren't crazy for loving them. Kid, they sleep just fine at night. You're the one counting cracks in the ceiling. You're the one rewriting conversations in your head, trying to find the moment everything went wrong. But here's the truth you don't want to swallow. It didn't go wrong. It went real. You saw who they are, and instead of walking away, you tried harder. You gave more. You loved louder. You forgave quicker. You bent until your bones were begging you to stop, and they took it all. Your kindness, your loyalty, your time, and treated it like spare change they could toss on the ground whenever they got bored. You keep thinking, if I just prove I'm good enough, they'll come back different. No, they won't. The only thing that changes when you chase is your self-respect. Listen, people like that only understand one language: loss. Not the loss of you sitting there crying, sending essays they never read. Not the loss of you begging to be understood. That just feeds them. I'm talking about real loss. The kind where you stop caring, where you stop explaining, where you stop giving them access to your emotions like it's a free buffet. You don't slam doors. You don't send paragraphs. You don't make big speeches about self-worth. You just go quiet. You stop checking on them. You stop answering at 2 a.m. You stop reacting when your name slips out of their poisoned mouth. You stop letting them live in your head, rent-free with their dirty shoes on the table. You pull the plug. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And that's when it happens. That's when the shift starts. Because for the first time, they're not the center of your universe. And they feel it. They feel the absence before they ever admit it. They notice the silence before they ever acknowledge the noise they cause. See, people like them don't crumble when you cry. They crumble when you no longer do. As long as you care, they're in control. As long as you react, they're winning. They poke, you flinch, they pull away, you chase. That's the game, and you've been playing it on hard mode without even realizing. But the second you stop caring, really stop, not that fake. I don't care. You post online while your heart still checks their last scene. I mean the kind of not caring where they cross your mind and it feels like a distant song you don't remember the lyrics to. That's when the cracks appear. They start wondering, did I lose them? Are they over me? Have they moved on? They start testing the waters. A random, hey stranger. How have you been? I was just thinking about you. No, they weren't. They were thinking about themselves. They were thinking, do I still own real estate in your head? They'll send a breadcrumb and sit back, waiting for you to fall on your knees for the crumbs like you used to. But this time, you don't bite. You see the message. You feel that familiar sting in your chest. And then you let it pass. You don't answer immediately. You don't rehearse the perfect response. Hell, maybe you don't respond at all. And that silence, that lack of urgency, that lack of reaction, that's what drives them insane. They thought you'd always be there. They thought no matter how badly they treated you, you'd still be that safe little pillow they could collapse on when the world turned its back on them. They thought you were permanent. And nothing terrifies users more than realizing their favorite supply is no longer on the shelf. You think you're powerless because they walked away, but your real power starts when you do. Not physically, emotionally. Because you can leave a room and still be tied to it by 1,000 invisible strings, memories, regrets, what-ifs. Cut them. Stop replaying the good moments like a highlight reel. They weren't that good. You just edited out the part where you cried yourself to sleep afterwards. Stop romanticizing the bare minimum. They didn't treat you special. They treated you just enough to keep you hooked. You keep thinking they lost something great when they hurt you. No, not yet. They only lose when you heal. When you stop watching their life like a fan and start living yours like the main character. When you stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. When you stop auditioning for roles in lives that already wrote you out of the script. That's when they feel it. That's when they start to crumble. It won't be dramatic. It won't be some instant karma movie scene where they show up sobbing in the rain. No. It'll be slow, quiet, itching at the back of their mind. They'll see someone who looks like you. They'll hear a song you played for them. They'll pass a place where you laughed together, and for a split second, their chest will tighten. Damn, I really lost that. They won't say it out loud. Their pride won't let them, but the feeling will sit there, gnawing at them in the quiet moments. Meanwhile, you're somewhere else, finally breathing without their hands around your throat. You're learning to enjoy your own company. You're building habits that don't revolve around checking who viewed your story. You're finding peace in places that don't remind you of them. And here's the beautiful twist. The more you heal, the more they hurt. Not because you wanted revenge. Not because you plotted their downfall, but because people who expect you to stay broken can't handle it when you don't. Your glow-up isn't just your looks. It's your energy, your boundaries, your refusal to tolerate the bare minimum ever again. That's what shakes them. They thought they'd ruined you for good. They thought you'd stay small so they could always feel big, but now they have to live with the reality that someone they broke learned how to rebuild without needing their hands. That's their karma. Not car crashes, not losing jobs, not dramatic punishment. Their karma is watching you thrive from a distance, knowing they had front row seats and still walked out before the show even started. You don't need to clap back. You don't need to expose them. You don't need to make a speech about how you're done. You just live louder, freer, colder when it comes to them. You stop justifying why you left. You stop explaining why you went silent. You stop defending your decision to protect your own sanity. You owe no one a thesis on your survival. They'll paint you as the villain anyway. That's how this works. You set a boundary. They call you selfish. You go quiet. They call you fake. You walk away. They call you heartless. Let them. Better to be called heartless than to be used for your heart. Better to be seen as cold than to keep burning yourself to keep others warm. You weren't born to be their emotional punching bag. You weren't put here to carry the weight of their brokenness while they dance on yours. Maybe they never say sorry. Maybe they never admit what they did. Maybe they keep telling everyone you're the problem. And maybe that's okay. You're not looking for justice in their mouth anymore. You're not searching for peace in the same hands that ripped it out of you. You're done. Not the dramatic, I'm done, followed by another hey, the next time you're lonely. No, the kind of done that looks like deleting the thread and never looking back. The kind of done that feels like exhaling after holding your breath for years. And as the days pass, as your care drains from that situation drop by drop, so does their power. They can't weaponize what you no longer feel. They can't manipulate reactions that no longer exist. They can't pull strings that you've already cut. They'll try, though. Oh, they'll try. A rumor here, a jab there, a little poke just to see if you still bleed. But when they see you don't flinch, when they see you don't bite, when they realize they don't live in your mind anymore, that's when the crumble really begins. Because their ego needed you. It needed your tears, your guilt, your apologies for things they did. It needed you to play the villain so they could feel like the hero of their own story. But heroes don't lose sleep over the ones they hurt. Cowards do. And cowardice eats people alive in the dark when no one's watching, when there's nothing left to distract them from the truth. Your job is not to see it. Your job is not to stick around and wait for it. Your job is to rise, quietly, unapologetically, to rebuild a life where their name doesn't echo in your mind, to create a world where your peace is the main character. They wanted you shattered. You chose steel instead. They wanted you begging. You chose silence instead. They wanted you to care forever. You chose yourself instead. And that choice, that shift, that moment you finally say, I'm done caring about people who never cared when it mattered. That's what breaks them. Not today, not tomorrow, but eventually. Because nothing haunts a person more than realizing the one they took for granted moved on and never looked back. So stop chasing closure. Stop rehearsing speeches. Stop waiting for them to feel what you felt. Walk away, heart bruised but beating, hands empty but clean. Live your life in a way that makes their version of you look ridiculous. Heal so deeply that their memory becomes a dull echo instead of a scream. And when the day comes that their name is just another name, when the thought of them doesn't twist your stomach anymore, when you can look back at the storm and feel nothing but distance, that's when you'll understand. When you stop caring, truly stop caring, they don't just fade into the background, they start crumbling. And you stay unbothered, kid. Because nothing, and I mean nothing, drives them crazier than realizing they don't matter to you anymore. And here's the part nobody warns you about. When you finally stop caring, really stop, the world doesn't suddenly get easier. No choir of angels sings, no dramatic beam of light shines down on you. What actually happens is quieter, slower, almost unnoticeable at first. You wake up one morning and the weight on your chest feels a little lighter. You open your phone and they're not the first thing you think about. You pass the places that used to break you and they don't hit as hard. Healing doesn't arrive like a storm. It arrives like a whisper, and somewhere along the way, without even realizing it, you start choosing yourself again. You start remembering who you were before they convinced you that you were hard to love. You start rebuilding the pieces of yourself they tried to scatter, piece by piece, breath by breath, step by step. And that's exactly what makes them crumble. Because the version of you they controlled, that version is dying. The version of you that made excuses for them, gone. The version of you that blamed yourself for their disrespect, buried. You're becoming someone they don't recognize anymore, someone they can't manipulate anymore, someone they can't guilt trip or breadcrumb or use like an emotional band-aid when their loneliness catches up to them, and that terrifies them. See, people like that, they don't want you healed. They want you dependent. They want you just broken enough to need them, but not strong enough to leave them. But you're walking out of the rubble with fire in your eyes and silence in your hands. You're not running after them anymore. You're not memorizing mixed signals anymore. You're not checking your worth in the reflection of someone who couldn't see your value even if you engraved it on their skin. And suddenly, their games don't work. The guilt doesn't land. The manipulation doesn't sting. The silence they use to punish you with, it doesn't faze you because you've learned something they never expected you to learn. You don't need them. You never did. You just forgot how powerful you were. And the moment you remember that, they start slipping. They start questioning themselves. They start stalking your page the way you used to stalk theirs. They start asking mutual friends about you, hoping to hear you're still hurting. They start replaying the moments they dismissed you, the chances they wasted, the love they spit on. And that's the irony of it all. The moment you stop caring is the moment they start. But don't mistake their panic for love. Don't confuse their regret with growth. People don't change that fast. They don't wake up one morning suddenly capable of giving you what they denied you for years. What they feel isn't love. It's fear. Fear that they lost control. Fear that they're no longer the center of your attention. Fear that you found a life where they don't matter. And that's a fear they deserve. You spent nights crying over people who slept soundly. You carried guilt that wasn't yours. You held on long after they let go. You bled for people who couldn't even give you a bandage. So don't you dare feel guilty now. Don't you dare feel guilty for healing, for letting go, for becoming someone they can't touch anymore. That's not cold. That's not heartless. That's self-respect. You're allowed to outgrow people. You're allowed to move forward without making an announcement. You're allowed to stop caring about people who treated your heart like it was disposable. Because here's the truth. Caring is a gift, a rare one. And you don't give rare gifts to people who can't even say thank you. Let them crumble. Let them stew in the silence they once forced on you. Let them chase ghosts of memories you no longer live in. Your job isn't to go back and save them. Your job isn't to hold the door open for people who slammed it in your face. Your job isn't to teach grown people how to treat a heart they mishandled on purpose. Your job, your only job, is to keep walking. Head high, heart steady, soul intact. Because the moment you stop caring is the moment you start growing. The moment you stop caring is the moment you reclaim every piece of yourself you once gave away. The moment you stop caring is the moment you realize you were never the one breaking. You were the one breaking free.